The following program is furnished by K1 International, LLC, and is responsible for its content. Now, from the fifth floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth. How we doing? Welcome to your Sunday morning. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Time for another Inside Real Estate Sports, Entertainment, Politics show. We got a great action-packed show for you today. Coming up late in the show, we've got our sports segment. And guess who we're going to be talking to today? We're going to be talking to DallasCowboys.com editor and writer Nick Eatman, longtime worker over there at DallasCowboys.com, and a longtime behind-the-scenes guy in sports in general, great sports writer. And so we've got his latest book that we're going to talk about, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Texas. And this talks about football in the Lone Star State from high school to college to the Cowboys. And so we're looking forward to talk to him about sports and, of course, the book. Before we get there, happy to say we've got a great new partner as part of the show, Lone Star Transfer, which is a timeshare exit strategy company. We've got the owners here, Brian and Karen Holloway, so we're going to be talking with them. Everybody knows somebody who's, gotten into a bad mix-up with a timeshare, and by and large, questions are always about how to get out of them, and that's tough, and so we're going to talk to those guys about that coming up later in the show. Then, of course, we're going to do some business talk. We got Richard Tonica here. We're going to do give you some great tips about insurance and make sure that all of your assets are protected, so that's coming up in the insurance business segment with Richard Tonica, Goosehead, and then, of course, we're going to do some mortgage and real estate talk with Terri today over at Supreme Lending. So we got a really busy, action-packed show for you today, so hope you stay tuned for all of that. By the way, website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. You can connect with all of our partners right there and then connect out to all of our social media. All of our archive shows are right there on the archive page. By the way, great interview last week with Dick Morris, author of Armageddon, of course, the nationally recognized political expert. So great interview there. Catch that Dick Morris interview on the website archive page. You'll like it. If you're actively looking for real estate, hey, don't forget our app, DFW Metroplex Real Estate. Just search that in your smarty phone, and you'll be good to go. Remember, we're here for all of your real estate needs, so we can take care of you. We'd love a chance to earn your business. I put a new listing on the market this past week, and over in Granbury, really beautiful, nice little listing, and it just reiterates to me, when I talk to people that there are a lot of bad agents out there and agents that just don't take care of business. These folks, they had their property listed previously and they weren't too happy with their agent. But at the end of the day, even though it had been on the market, 60 or so days, at the end of the day, it was more about a lack of communication with the agent, which is generally what we find to be an issue. And for example, they never got a copy of their contract, which was, until the very end. And this was after, 60 days, and then they had to go to a supervisor in the office, and then the next supervisor in the office. They never got a copy of their contract, and then they thought they had so many misconceptions about what was even in the contract. They thought that, they signed a year deal. They thought they were stuck in the year deal, a year listing. They thought there might have been termination fees. They didn't know because they didn't have a copy of their contract, their listing agreement. And so I just found that it was just such poor business practices, on the part of this other agent. And that really makes me mad. And, of course, I got to apologize to them, because they had this experience with another realtor, obviously with a totally different office. But, a fellow realtor, you wish they were all up to speed and taking care of everybody. So that was really frustrating. Myself, as soon as I sign a deal with somebody, they get a copy of the contract, the same day. When I got back to the office after, signing the listing with them, I sent them an email copy of the listing, which is what you would expect, would you not?
Absolutely.
And then also, they asked for a hard copy in the mail, which, is fine. So, boom, before 5:30, I got to the post office, and I dropped that thing in the mail so that they could get that copy in the mail as well. So, because I knew that was important to them to get a hard copy. And just some very basic standards of business, you would think, and they didn't get that with other agents, so that was very frustrating for them. It's frustrating for me to hear that they had that story. But by the way, great golf course lot. It's a double lot on the golf course, Harbor Lakes, down in Granbury. It's listed at $319,900, just a little bit south of 3,000 square feet. Property's only 2 years old, built in 2014. It's got a nice heated custom pool and hot tub, and then a very nice custom solarium built on the rear. And what a great property, listed at $319,900, only 2 years old. So if you know anybody or are interested in the Granbury area, holler at me about that one. So we've got a nice property down there for you. We're going to get to a little bit of headlines before we kind of move on. We like to talk about the latest and greatest and what's going on out there, and sometimes we mix it up with politics, sports, or real estate, who knows what. Here's what we got. Let's see here. The PBR, Professional Bull Riders. I've been to the PBR Iron Cowboy at the Cowboy Stadium in the past, which is a heck of a show. And then there was a year where I went to the PBR Finals in Vegas, which was pretty amazing. So I enjoyed watching the PBR from time to time. But, of course, chiming in on the Star Spangled Banner thing, they of course said, they're going to be standing at full attention. Shorty, which is one of their well-known bullfighters, said, let's put together a pledge, and then all 35 PBR members signed it. By the way, the 35 PBR members are from 6 different countries, and they all, signed off on it. And it's a long pledge I'm not going to read. You can look it up. We've got a link to the story. By the way, we link all of our sports stories on the Pinterest page that we have, which is Inside Real Estate Radio on Pinterest. And there was an incident at one of the last PBR events, though, and the U.S. Border Patrol was asked to come in and do the color guard. And the arena in Charlotte said they had to disarm, and which was kind of wild and crazy. And, of course, the Border Patrol did not want to disarm to the arena. That didn't make much sense. And so PBR said, you know what, we're just going to pull the event. And this was after everybody's already there. And they said, you know what, our fans will understand. You're going to make a big, stink out of this. And guess what? You're going to have a hard time getting business here at your arena. And so eventually they compromised it, but they had local police escorting Border Patrol in. That was the most odd, weird thing I've ever heard of. So very wild and crazy. Let's see, we got quite a few. We got a little bit of time left here. Get a few more stories. J.J. Watt out the rest of the season. We know about that. This was a funny, interesting story. After Ryan Fitzpatrick tossed 6 picks up last week, there was a whole story about the good and the bad and the benched and then those who just die in the NFL after throwing 6 picks. And so this was a pretty fun story. There was George Blanda, Joe Namath, but still had a pretty decent career. Kenny Stabler, Peyton Manning threw 6 picks one time.
I was going to say, with as many throws that quarterbacks make nowadays, it's amazing. It doesn't happen more often.
Yeah. But then there's a huge list of people that pretty much were taken out, the next week or towards the end of the game. Some dead names of the NFL like Ty Detmer, Chris Chandler, Vinny Testaverde. So that was a funny story. We got a link to that. Kurt Schilling, he's pretty outspoken, the MLB great. He said, you know what, I'm going to run for office, and he's going to try to unseat Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren come 2018. So he had some pretty good things to say, pretty funny things to say in an interview with Fox News' Neil Cavuto recently. He said Hillary, he said he's not sure how the former Secretary of State is not in jail. So, Kurt Schilling's always outspoken. So that was an interesting story. Hey, this is actually a really interesting story, and I'm not going to have enough time to get into a lot of it, but, I think folks should definitely check this one out on the Pinterest page. And Governor Jerry Brown out in California, he signed a Planned Parenthood-sponsored bill Friday, which was designed to target the filmmaker behind the undercover videos of the Planned Parenthood executives. These were the videos where employees were describing the sale of aborted fetal body parts, which obviously is illegal. But this bill was targeting those videos, saying that this was patient-client privilege, basically. The video filmmakers are saying, look, these were just in general discussions and had nothing to do, none of these people were actual patients, so that does not apply. So basically they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, doing what they do, and then they're actually got the governor involved, and the governor is right behind Planned Parenthood. So this is a really interesting story. People need to check that one out for sure. And with that wraps up headlines for now. Folks, we're going to take a short break. Come on back. See you in a few.
Now through Sunday, come by Anytime Fitness in North Plato and join for only $1. They'll even help you get started with a no-pressure fitness consultation. Visit Anytime Fitness in North Plato off Ohio and 121 now through Sunday and join for only $1.
The Richard Tonica Insurance Agency in Arlington has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the Richard Tonica Insurance Agency Network. Richard can quote over 20 A-rated companies to find the best fit for you, the best policy at the best price. Call Richard today at 817-286-2002. It's the Richard Tonica Goosehead Insurance Agency, 817-286-2002.
Glenn back.
Am I supposed to now vote for him, or am I supposed to vote for my conscience?
What I was trying to do at Cleveland was lay out a path to uniting Republicans and lay out a path to winning.
Glenn Beck, 8 till 11, KLIF.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back. Welcome to Inside Real Estate. Website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Hey, time to roll on into a new segment that we're going to have as a regular part of the show. Obviously, being in real estate, we get a lot of questions about timeshares, although timeshares are not real estate and realtors have nothing to do with timeshares. But we get those questions, and there's a natural sort of fit there. And by and large, those questions are, how the heck do we get out of timeshares by and large? And there's a lot of horror stories about it. And I'm not here to say, timeshares are a horrible, horrible thing. If you've evaluated a timeshare situation and it's best for you and your family, hey, great, good for you. But by and large, everybody's trying to figure out how to get out of them, and they have horror stories about them. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. And so we've got a new partner on board with the show. It's Lone Star Transfer. Their website is LoneStarTransfer.com. I've got the owners here, Brian and Karen Holloway, and they're going to talk to us about, on a regular basis, how they help people get out of timeshares and is that possible? Of course, it is possible. You guys do it all the time, and how to get it done. So good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. So let's kind of tell the folks a little bit about you guys, starting the company, your passion for, helping people, and then we'll kind of get more into the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay, well, Brian and I decided to start our own company about 5 years ago and stay in Dallas. We saw just a huge need for timeshare owners, really not knowing which direction to go when their timeshare was no longer working for them. And so we're a local company. Our goal is to help timeshare owners in our community. We're located right here in Rockwall, Texas, and Brian and I live in Terrell, Texas, so it's pretty neat to just be working with our neighbors.
Right. And, obviously we've got a wide listenership area that goes all the way down to Austin, up towards the border, et cetera. And so I know you guys cover all of those areas. And by and large, you guys actually like to meet with people and try to figure their situation out. But, in some cases, if it's a far distance, you can get things started over the phone as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. We do sit with timeshare owners a lot. They'll come to our office, which makes them feel a lot more comfortable that we actually have an office to go to. We have the privilege of officing inside the Rockwall Chamber of Commerce. And we do help people. We can help anybody in any state, really. And so we do a lot of phone consultations as well. Okay.
Let's kind of get into, timeshares, and let's try to explain them a little bit to people, and then start to explain some of the contract language that is there. And so, part of this is, we're going to talk a lot about education and educating people as we go through all these segments that we're going to have in the future. But let's talk about the contracts and how sort of ironclad they are, some of the language that's in them, and what they're designed to do, which is keep people tied up in those contracts.
Oh, when people go buy these timeshares, they think they're, what they're doing is buying a week of time every year. And they're perpetual contracts in most cases. And so, we're just here to help them get out of those perpetual contracts.
Right. The way these contracts are written, folks, is, if you've ever gone, and I have sat through a timeshare, it only took me one, I'll never do it again. And I don't really remember exactly why, I was in that one, but, well, I do remember, but I don't want to say.
Free stuff.
Yeah, but,
And heavily drinking.
That might have been part of it. It was on vacation, so we'll just say that. But you get hammered down by the multiple levels of people, and then sometimes, a lot of people just have a hard time saying no. And there's so many people out there that they don't want to say no for whatever reason. That's just part of their personality. And then particularly in a couple where both people can't say no, which can be a problem, they get into these timeshares. But even a lot of times you're working with people that were full aware of what they were doing, and this worked for them. They had a family, they wanted to do this. It was just, that was the way they were going to vacation, and that goes for maybe 10 years till the kids get too old, and then they've been paying for it for 5 years and not using it. And so they did use it for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
But then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to get out of this. But they didn't know how ironclad it is. And that's when you guys can come in and help them, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of timeshare owners that have had their timeshare for years, used them, loved them, worked great for their family, just like you were saying. But then they come to a time in their life when they're not using it like they used to. And I think most timeshare owners were led to believe that they would be able to sell their timeshare. So they never really thought about, oh my goodness, is this going to be a problem down the road? Mm-hmm. They just thought, gosh, well, when we're done using the timeshare, it's no problem. We'll go ahead and sell it. Right. And when they find out that that is really, really tough to do, they don't really know then which way to turn. And so it gets kind of frustrating. And, there's a lot of timeshare owners that are contacted, I'm going to say daily, by companies, maybe over the phone or, out of state, mm-hmm. telling them that there is a resale market to a timeshare and having to pay something up front. And they pay an amount of money up front with the promise of selling a timeshare, and it just does not happen. Yeah. And so they feel like, they're just being misled over and over again.
Yeah, and there's a huge discrepancy in what the salespeople tell you when they're pitching the timeshares and they're trying to sell them to you, and what's actually in the contract. And they wear you down by the end of it so much that you're not going to read all the fine print. And so, but then even if you're doing it willing, you're like, oh, we're going to use this. Yeah, right. Okay, fine, that's great. Right. But you think you can get out of it at some point. No, you can't.
Oh, yeah.
It's very difficult to do that. And that's where you guys come in. And then, like you say, the other part of the industry is that there are companies out there that say they can get you out, right. and they'll charge you those fees up front, which is very frustrating, and then they just disappear, and then they'll start up under a new name. And, people, these timeshare companies say, yeah, we can get you out of your timeshare, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, you're out of there. And that is a bold-faced lie, isn't it?
It is. And I have to
that's
say,
what we heard from all of our clients that have used our service, that they've tried to sell it, paid other companies out of state, and just couldn't get it done. And that's why they're calling us. Right. Because we're the only ones that'll tell them the truth.
And the truth is that it's a long, complicated process because they signed what is really an ironclad contract. There are people that have tried to put these under bankruptcies, but they get kicked back because there are future billings. It's a contract that has perpetual future billings, which many bankruptcy judges will kick back. This is how strong these contracts are, and people don't understand that, and we're going to talk more and more about that. But it's a long process, and so talk a little bit about that process. If somebody wants to get out of their timeshare, I'm calling you, and what's the next steps, and how does that process go?
Well, what will happen is when you call our office, what's really important is we get some information just to find out, to see if you do have a timeshare that we can actually help you out of. We do have several different programs, just depending on the situation that a timeshare owner is in. We really need to find out which program you would qualify for. There's hundreds and hundreds of different timeshares and just so many different situations. Some are vacation clubs, some are out of the country, some maybe every other year, just depends on that situation. So what we do is when you call our office, we evaluate what situation you're in, what timeshare you have, and then we can recommend which direction to go.
Okay. Very good. And the honest truth is, when these companies are saying, they'll do it in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, etc., you beware of those because those are scams. The honest truth is it's really going to be a 6 month to a year, and in some cases, depending on how ironclad the contract is that you signed, it could be up to over a year. And that's the honest truth, and you flat out, after evaluating people's timeshare contracts, you tell them the truth.
That's correct.
Brian and I pretty much agreed in the very beginning, we are never going to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah.
We are always going to say the worst scenario so everybody knows what to expect. There's not going to be any surprises when we're helping you get out of a timeshare. We're very accurate about which direction we'll go once we've talked to you and actually saw what you have.
Right. Well, folks, look, if you're in a timeshare and it's working for you, great. But I can assure you, at some point, you're going to come to in life where you're not going to use that timeshare anymore. And who wants to pay for a timeshare they're not using anymore? That timeshare essentially may be paid off, but you've got those maintenance fees that are brutal every year. Not to mention special assessments that come up. Let's say that timeshare is in a zone that gets maybe, in a hurricane zone. You can get special assessments. I believe you were telling me about a client that had a special assessment, 2 special assessments because of a hurricane. They were like $10,000 each.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, he had 4 weeks, and he had a property in Hawaii, and he got hit with a special assessment of $5,100 per week. So he had $24,000 extra dollars out of his pocket that year.
Yeah, and that wasn't planned for, and it probably didn't. The special assessments, those are in HOAs as well. But when it comes to those timeshares, you're not thinking about that. But that's in the contract. And guess what? That if they want to special assess you every year, well, essentially they can, and you're bound by the contract to pay it.
Unfortunately, it's like you said, it's in that contract. You just didn't read over it.
Exactly. And shame on you for signing it, but you know what? We have help for you, and that's why these guys are here to help you get out of those timeshare situations where, look, we're all going to, even if you signed up for it willingly, at some point you'll get to it where you're like, it's time to get out. And that's when Lone Star Transfer is going to take care of you. Or if you just got, snookered into one, and you need to get out of it, well, Lone Star Transfer is here to help you. Look, folks, that's Brian and Karen Holloway, owners of Lone Star Transfer. They're right here in the DFW area local. Their website, LoneStarTransfer.com, LoneStarTransfer.com. Their phone number, 972-722-3166. Thank you guys for being on, and looking forward to have you guys on regularly and helping folks with their timeshare issues.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, folks, we're going to take a short break. See you in a few. Folks, it's Mike the Realtor here from Inside Real Estate, and if you're not listing your property with me, bottom line is you're leaving money on the table. There are over 15,000 agents here in the DFW area, most of whom are part-time and do a few deals a year. Do you want to trust them to sell your home? I think not. Call Mike the Realtor, the radio realty expert from Inside Real Estate on 570 AM KLIF. Promise you will get to me direct. Go to InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Don't sell your home with just anyone. Go to InsideRealEstateRadio.com and connect with Mike the Realtor.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. So, who's going to do what? Flashlights?
Nowhere to be found.
Where to be found. Batteries?
Dead.
Great. Emergency supply kits?
Not packed.
No. What about blankets?
We have an old towel.
Good enough. Cell phones?
May not work.
Emergency water?
Not a drop.
And what about food?
Nope.
Perfect. We all know where we're meeting if we're separated, yeah?
The library. Aunt Joan's house. The bus stop.
Great. And I'll be waiting here wondering where you all are. Sounds like we don't have a plan. Who's up for mini golf?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. A public service announcement brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Time for a mortgage segment and real estate segment with Terri Wagner over at Supreme Lending. And, of course, her website is TerriWagner.com. TerriWagner.com. You can fill out a loan application right there for all your mortgage needs, including refi, Texas cash out, new purchase. How we doing?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm good.
There's some cool stuff on that website, too. There's mortgage calculator.
Yep.
That is an awesome thing to use without having to to pick up the phone. A lot of people just want to do their own shopping on their own time and in their own manner, and they have lots of tools on that website.
That's right. Lots of good information. Terri brings us great info every single week and shows her expertise weekly, how much she's head and shoulders above all the other folks here in DFW. But, of course, nothing beats just giving her a call on the phone.
Right. I love talking to people.
Yeah. And you can get great info on the website, but, at the end of the day, you get so much more information from a person, and then you figure out, hey, we get along, Terri's great, she's not only extremely knowledgeable of what she does, she's a great person.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
You are. So just call and talk to her.
Well, and I like, and a lot of people that I talk to on a weekly basis, they may not be ready to buy right now.
Yeah.
I had that come up a lot this week where we just had conversations, provided them with some information because they want to buy 6 months down the road.
Right.
I like to talk to those people too, because there is preparation that needs to go into your home purchase.
Mm-hmm.
It is not, in most cases, a 1 week process. You have to plan. You have to maybe fix some things on credit. Maybe, there's just planning that goes into this process. So if you are planning on purchasing in the next year, I'm happy to still talk to you.
Yeah, and it's good for people to get information and accurate information up front because, people make decisions based on information that they get. And a lot of times they get bad information from some random loan officer or some random website. And then they make plans, with their leases,
Right.
Or if they're selling their house, whatever, maybe they do things with their credit they shouldn't do, which are, counterintuitive.
Right.
So just talk to Terri, bottom line.
Okay.
What do we got?
Well, today I thought I'd talk about jumbo loans. We haven't talked about those in a long time.
Very good.
And Supreme Lending has some awesome jumbo products. Jumbo, for those that don't know, we'll break it down for them.
It's a big loan.
It's a big loan. Duh. No, a jumbo loan is anything that is not in the conforming loan limits. Conforming loan limits is $417,000 or less. So if you have a loan amount of $417,001, then you are a jumbo. Okay? I kind of try to think outside the box sometimes too. Because jumbo pricing, and we won't get into pricing here, but jumbo pricing is a little different than your conforming loan. So you're going to pay a little higher of an interest rate on a jumbo loan than not a jumbo loan. So there are combo loans where you have a second lien. So if there's ever an instance where we can, instead of doing a jumbo loan, can do maybe a second lien, that's typically going to be a better product for you. But we'll explore all the possibilities.
Right.
But if you are a jumbo loan, we have those products as well.
Yeah, and the jumbos are just, more risk for the lender at the end of the day.
Right.
If they do have to be foreclosed on, generally the higher end properties are going to sit longer on the market.
Exactly.
So that's why you get a little bit higher interest rate there.
Right. And there's and we do things a little differently on those loans. They take a little longer. If you are a conforming loan, we can probably get your loan done in 3 weeks or less. But on a jumbo loan, it's going to take us a little longer. We're probably going to need about 45 days, possibly up to 60 days. Because in most instances, we have to send those out. We have delegated jumbo loans and non-delegated jumbo loans. So delegated means we underwrite it in-house. Non-delegated means it's got to go outside our office to be underwritten. those take a little bit longer because they're a little more strenuous. Like we were saying, there's more risk, obviously.
Sure.
So, but we have products that we underwrite in-house, and then we have some that we don't.
Okay.
We have a jumbo product that we can do with just 10% down and no MI.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people didn't know about that.
Right. So, and that's a delegated product. We underwrite that.
You do it in-house.
In-house. But you're going to, there are going to be extras. We're going to probably need a couple of appraisals instead of just one appraisal. So there are some idiosyncrasies that we have on each loan product. We have a total of 9 different jumbo products that we can choose from. So no matter what your situation is, we most likely have a product that will fit it.
Okay.
We've got one product that you can, now this is weird, that you can have as low as a 661, not a 660, but a 661 credit score.
You better have that extra point.
Yeah, that's right. You better get that extra point. But if you don't have it, I can help you get it.
That's right.
We can go up to $2 million on a loan product. So no matter what your range is. Now we don't do those super jumbo. I have never found a loan product that fit those. I don't know how those people buy their houses. I guess they pay cash. I don't know. But we can go down to a 661 on credit score. We can go up to $2 million property loan amount, and we can do as little as 10% down with no MI. So different loan products that we can do. Again, on some of the products, we're going to need possibly 2 appraisals. On most products, we're going to need quite a bit of reserves. But, Mike, if you're buying a home that's a jumbo pricing, you should probably have some money in the bank anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think, what maybe a lot of folks in this zone also need is some flexibility. Because so many times they want to try to find that house before their house is even on the market.
Right.
And if you're going and buying a house that's going to be a jumbo, and you maybe selling one that's maybe borderline jumbo,
right,
that you're upgrading from, can we get that loan pushed out, that first payment pushed out, maybe 3 months for them in some cases? I know I've seen in the smaller loans maybe pushing it out to 2 months.
Yeah.
What about 3 months?
I think probably 2.
Two max.
Maybe what we can do. And there's also some restrictions too on first-time home buyers because you can do it. You can do a primary. You can do it as your second home, and there are some products for investment properties that you can do in the jumbo arena. But some of them are going to be restricted to if first-time home buyers.
Okay.
And you're not going to be able to do an investment as a first-time home buyer on a jumbo loan.
Right.
So there's some restrictions there as well.
Okay. Well,
debt ratios can't go above 43%.
Okay.
But again, a lot of this is just kind of common sense underwriting.
Right.
You don't need to have a 50% debt to income ratio and be buying a jumbo property.
Probably not.
Right. But a lot of times when you're looking at this, again, goes back to the documentation. So a good portion of people that are buying jumbo loans are self-employed. So their cash flow on their tax returns may not be true representation of what their real cash flow is.
Right, not matching up.
So we have to use what's on those tax returns. We have to provide profit and loss statements and balance sheets.
They might go with the Donald Trump method of paying paying taxes, which, as he said, is smart, and I don't fault him for that. And most business owners do the exact same thing.
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
but again, we have to, like with any loan type, not just the jumbo, with any loan type, we need to see those documentations and take a look at everything before you go out and put a contract on a home. So
especially in the jumbo zone.
Let's take a look at those. Let's make sure everything fits. Let's make sure all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, because you don't want to put a contract on a jumbo loan, have lots of earnest money out there, and come to find out, then you send me your tax returns and you wrote everything off and the income isn't what we thought it was.
Exactly. Very good. Well, we're running a little short on time this time. We can pick up a little more jumbo talk next go-round. Folks, we've been talking with Terri Wagner over at Supreme Lending. Hey, for all of your mortgage, finance, refinance, Texas cash-out needs, you want to give Terri a call, go to her website first, terriwagner.com, and you can catch up with her. Folks, we'll be back in a few.
Living in the DFW area, expansive clay soil and extreme weather conditions play havoc on homes' foundation. But thankfully, you can turn to Perma-Pure Foundation Repair of Texas, who has successfully repaired over 20,000 properties and counting in the DFW area. With the most trusted, tried and true foundation repair methods, trust the professional staff of Perma-Pure Foundation Repair to take care of your property, and most repairs are backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Mention Inside Real Estate Radio when calling Perma-Pure at 214-637-1444 or when booking online at permapure.com for your Inside Real Estate Radio discount.
Far from the shores of home, two African-American U.S. Army privates fight for their lives on the battlefronts of World War II. The first Black War correspondents fight to cover the perspective of the black soldier. The novel A Private War, it weaves all this and more into an epic World War II era story of friendship, conflict, religion, and redemption. Get a copy of Private War, a novel by Perry Cockrell today, now available on Amazon.com. And tune in regularly to Inside Real Estate Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. to hear Perry Cockrell, attorney at law, as he provides expert analysis of the latest and greatest in legal news. With over 3.5 million square feet and 5 DFW locations, Ideal Floors has you covered for all your flooring needs. Whether you're looking for carpet, tile, laminate, wood, or vinyl plank, Ideal Floors has you covered. And with their price match guarantee and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, they are the absolute best in DFW for all your flooring needs. Call Kevin Hamus, the owner of Ideal Floors, at 214-789-0422 or go to idealfloors.com for all your flooring needs.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Folks, we're back. Mike Kruizinga, Inside Real Estate, Sports, Entertainment, Politics. Welcome back to the show. Hey, time to talk a little business and insurance with Mr. Richard Tonica over at Goosehead Insurance. He's keeping us straight on protecting all of our assets out there. And RichardTAgency.com is the website, RichardTAgency.com. What's up, Richard?
Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm very good.
Fantastic. Okay.
What do we got?
We got a lot. Not as much as Terri, but we've got a lot.
We're a fast pace today, so.
So what we're talking about today is what are the items that affect your rate that you're going to get from the different credit companies, or not from the different credit companies, the different insurance carriers, and is this strictly across the board the same way with everyone? No, everyone's going to have different variations of everything, but this is a general guideline of this is how insurance carriers come up with the rate that they're giving you for your home insurance. It may affect your auto insurance, but we're really concentrating on the home insurance. The first thing that comes up is we're going to talk about credit score. So if you're purchasing a new house, you've obviously got a better credit score than a lot of people, but it's still they're looking at the history of it, not just the recent credit score. They're looking at the last 2 years, which I believe that's what Terri looks at when she's looking at your mortgage and being able to put you in something is the last 2 years. What have you done recently? That's what they're going to use as a determining factor of what they can expect from you going forward. Because people with lower credit scores usually have higher claims rates. So
it's funny how that works.
I know.
It just is what it is.
Everybody has to have insurance, and it's great until you have to use it, and then insurance companies don't like paying out money. They love taking it in. They don't like paying it out, though.
No, they don't.
The second thing is the age of your house, the age and location, because the age, location, and the materials that are used to build your house. There are some carriers that after a home is 40, 50 years old, they simply won't touch it. There are some carriers that will go all the way back to 1900 and so on. But every carrier is going to be a little bit different in their writing guidelines. But when you're looking at a frame house versus a brick veneer house or a stucco house, all those have different building rates, and that is going to affect How long does the fire department have to get to your house before it's completely in flames? And so the more flame retardant things, such as brick, is going to last longer and going to be a better investment for certain carriers. And there are some carriers that simply will not do an old frame house because of that very reason. It's just once it catches on fire, it's pretty much gone.
So if you live in a concrete and steel bunker, then maybe you get some good rates.
Well, one of the things about, and the Goosehead model is we shop you with over 20 different companies and finding the best rate for you. It's not just the rate, it's also the policy. Like I always say, a great rate doesn't mean much if you don't have a great policy to go along with it.
Right.
And so, anyway, the next thing that we look at is your claims history. Not only your personal claims history, but the claims history of that particular house. Because although you may just be purchasing this house, the previous customer or previous owners may have had 2 water leaks, 2 water claims, a hail claim. The hail claim you can't do anything about. But once you start having water and those kind of claims coming from the pipes, not necessarily an appliance, but pipes, then you're starting to look at, and this is mostly with older homes, you're starting to look at, well, all these pipes are going to have to be replacing, or else you're going to start seeing this kind of claim pop up and up. And so that's the reason that a lot of carriers will limit the number of claims and the different types of claims, depending on if it's water, hail, no matter what it is. Everyone looks at not only the number, but the type of claim as well.
Yeah, that's important to point out, because I don't think a lot of people think about that. They think about themselves being insured, but the home is also being insured as well. More than likely, the people lived there previously, and there may be claims history on that house. So that's a really good point.
Absolutely. And when I'm going through, there's something called a clue report that shows what claims have been issued by the person and on the home. And so I'll tell people that I'm talking to, do you know about this particular claim on this house? Because it's important for them to know that this is something that has happened in this house. If it wasn't addressed or noted in the inspection, it's something that they need to bring up with the customer and find out what happened and was everything taken care of.
Right.
Again, you can talk about the amount of coverage and stuff like that. It really, the big things are the things that I got to at the very beginning. Your credit history, the age, condition, and materials used to build the house, and your claims. Are there a lot more things that come into it? Absolutely. And once we have more time, we'll actually get into each one of these different items and start going through it and explain exactly why it's important and how they come to the decisions that they come to.
Yeah, and I know we always have sort of rolling segments when it comes to insurance, because insurance is so complicated. But, Richard Tonica breaks it down for us. He gives us the nuts and bolts of what's going on behind it. Don't forget, he can shop over 20-plus agencies to get you the best policy, the best insurance for home, auto, toys, and otherwise. RichardTAgency.com is the website. RichardTAgency.com is the website. Give him a buzz. Folks, we're going to be back in a few. Folks, it's Mike Kruizinga here with Inside Real Estate Sports Entertainment on 570 AM KLIF. Did you know that virtually all of us will experience a fall in the bathtub at some point in our life? Well, statistically, it's true, and as we get older, a fall in the bathtub can spell disaster, as we just can't recover the same as we did in our younger years. Don't let something as silly and preventable as a bathtub fall put an end to all your special plans you have lined up for your golden years. Invest in a Hydrojet walk-in bathtub. Made in the USA and with the lowest step in the industry, Hydrojet walk-in tubs has your best interest at heart. With no commission sales staff or huge warehouse overhead, they build and sell direct to you, saving you thousands of dollars over their competitors. Call Randy, my friend and owner of Hydrojet Walk-In Tubs, at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com. You'll be able to speak with Randy directly, and make sure to mention you heard about it on the radio. And for you veterans out there, there's a grant available for you to cover the majority of the cost of a walk-in tub, making it darn near free. Call Randy at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com today. Terri. When it comes to your mortgage and refinance needs, trust Terri Wagner, our resident mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. With a wide range of financing options and competitive interest rates, you can trust Terri for a fast and reliable loan process with superior service. Go to terriwagner.com or 469-644-4818 today. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator.
Now through Sunday, come by Anytime Fitness in North Plato and join for only $1. They'll even help you get started with a no-pressure fitness consultation. Visit Anytime Fitness in North Plato off Ohio and 121 now through Sunday and join for only $1.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Inside Real Estate, sports, entertainment, politics. Time for our sports segment. We got a special guest on the line, DallasCowboys.com editor, longtime writer, sports writer, Nick Eatman. Mr. Eatman, are you on the line with us?
I am. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. Out here in California, a little bit earlier than you guys.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hey, well, thanks for coming on the show, and I know we're going to get into talking about your brand new book, which was just released this past week. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Texas, a year in the life of Lone Star football from high school to college to the Cowboys. I read the book cover to cover, and a lot of great information in this book. And so for folks who love sports and love sports reads, this is a great read, and it was very interesting, the architecture of the book, because every chapter was a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And so, you were covering each one of those in the chapter, and I really enjoyed that architecture of the book.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think you'll laugh if you might have read it in the back, but you might laugh when you kind of hear how it came to the forefront. Basically, I was watching a TV show called Modern Family, which is a popular show. A lot of people have seen it. And basically just watching the format of this TV show, how they introduce three families and they kind of go back and forth with each other, and they're connected, but they're also, different and similar at the same time. And I thought, you know what, that's how I want to write this book. I want to write a book about three football teams, and I want to go back and forth on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type thing, talk about football on all levels. Sometimes it's very different. Sometimes it's very similar. And I wanted to kind of chronicle all three of those, and hopefully it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I think it did. So that was kind of the moment, that it hit you how to write that book, and it was just right. It came across, really, really well, and all three really are so interconnected. In particular, here in Texas, we all kind of want to get to the AT&T Stadium, and you talk about that in the book. Let's talk a little bit about the college side of it. It just happened to be that was the season. Baylor. You cover Baylor in here. You cover Plano, and of course the Cowboys. Covering Baylor, I know you have a great relationship with the folks down there. They were just having to come off of sort of what was going on down there. How tough was it, for everybody down there to get out of it, and how are things going now?
Well, it was very tough on a lot of levels. Just me, writing the book, trying to finish the book at that time frame, and then all of a sudden, because during the year of 2015, not a lot of that stuff at Baylor was really going on. There was an investigation from the Pepper Hamilton, but it wasn't really. There wasn't a lot of events that were happening right then that you would think, oh, this is going to be bad. And then not until after the season did you really the things start to unfold. And so it was really tough to finish a book and with trying to put a bow on this thing, but also this thing's just now opening up with so many different layers and aspects. And so it was tough from that standpoint. As for how tough it was for them, I mean, sure, here's Art Briles. Here's a coach that is well respected across the country as one of the best masterminds in college football.
Right.
And then to have a lot of this stuff go on, and nobody really knows the answers, and they still don't. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, even Art Briles himself hasn't been told why he was fired like he should have been. And so that it's just when I know that, knowing that he doesn't have a lot of answers, then I know I don't. I know a lot of people don't. And so it's just kind of left us all to wonder, what happened? Should it, and I still think the narrative is turning. I think before it's all said and done here, I think his name will be cleared. I really believe that, but maybe because I want to believe that, but it might take some time for that to happen.
Right. Absolutely, no doubt a great coach. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, he wasn't told why he was fired. You talk about in the book the report that the legal firm prepared, or lack of report. They actually presented everything verbally, and so there was literally no actual report from the firm except for what they gave orally in the sessions. And so that was amazing, I thought.
Yeah, I mean that I agree, and you kind of wonder why that is. Are they? To me, I feel like it's because the interviews that they prepared were supposed to be confidential. The players and the coaches that met with them were told this is a confidential thing. So therefore, if they have a written report, they can't come back and tell the Board of Regents, well, this guy told me this or this guy told me that. So you do it verbally. That's your way of getting around certain things and saying, hey, it was a certain coach, wink, wink, and then I think people can kind of figure out who it is. So I think they kind of did some missteps along the way there, and that's why they didn't want to have a paper trail about it. So the whole thing's a mess. It still is, and Baylor's doing on the field. Baylor's doing well. They're figuring out how to continue to win games, but it's still a mess. They don't have a full-time coach yet, and I think next year you're really going to see a lot of turn in that whole situation. So they're not out of the woods by any means, but it was just a capper to a really odd season when I thought Baylor was going to be the one to give me more stability. It turned out that they were the one that had so much turmoil.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about recruitment at the collegiate level, and not necessarily focusing so much necessarily on Baylor, but let's just talk across the board. Do colleges and recruiters, the scouts, need to do a better job of getting into the details of these players' lives at the lower levels and figuring out, are they mentally stable before they bring them into an atmosphere where they're going to have the type of temptations at the collegiate level that they need to be able to withstand those things mentally, because this is rampant. We know what happened at Vanderbilt with the football players over there and the things that they did. This is happening rampantly across America. So do scouts and recruiters and head coaches ultimately need to do a better job there?
I think that's a tough thing, because scouts and coaches, they dig so deep already that you kind of wonder. I don't know if they've left any rocks unturned. I mean, because recruiting is such a nasty business, and just how cutthroat it is, that the recruiters are finding out information about your uncle and where he works and all this stuff. I mean, they already kind of dig as deep as you can get. I think what's hard to do is put yourself in the shoes. Here's an 18-year-old kid, and he's been here. He's been coddled in this area because he's the best high school kid there is. How's he going to react when we put him here and with 80 other teammates, and 75 of them are just as good as him, if not better? And how does he handle that situation? How's he going to handle college life? And now he's living on his own. He's get to make decisions. Your curfew goes from midnight to 2 days. I mean, you can do whatever you want. And so I think that it's really difficult and I don't really put all that on the coaches and scouts at that point, because you're asking these kids that's the time in their life when they're growing up to be young men. And I just think that you're going to have bad situations. Sometimes you have the temptation, and sometimes they make good choices. Most of the time they do make good choices, but we are finding there are some that don't. And now when you're talking about transfers, I think that's a little different story. And Baylor's had some of that. If you want to go to Baylor's, the transfers from one college to another, and why it didn't work out here, and why are we taking him on here? I think that is something that Baylor maybe could have done a little bit better job in. But for the most part, with these young kids, this is the time of life when they're growing to be young men, and sometimes they're going to make bad choices, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that, maybe they should start on the borderline kids, and really this is at all levels, even at professional. If they're borderline, well, then maybe we need to think about letting them go. There's enough good quality athletes out there that if they're borderline mentally, let it go and move on. Let's get into the pro side of it. I thought there was some great stuff in the book, talking about Garrett, because a lot of times, the public persona of Garrett is, very quiet. How involved really is he? He's not calling any plays on the sideline. But you got into a lot of the mental aspect. And, this guy is so smart, so intelligent, and he does a lot of things behind the scenes. But you talked about, going up to San Fran, to have the team see the Super Bowl. You had talked about them going in a day early to New York to see One World Trade Center. And talk a little bit more about that for a second.
Yeah, he's very stoic on the sidelines. We know that. Very intense. But the Jason Garrett that you don't always see on camera is pretty. I mean, he's just a guy that's like, he's very emotional. I think he's an emotional person. He like I said about the World Trade Center, that was something that affected him personally, because he had been in New York when that happened. He was playing for the Giants, and so the World Trade Center and then the whole 9/11 aspect was very important to him. He wanted his team to see that. He wants his team to kind of be around greatness, and it doesn't always be about football players and stuff. When an actor comes in, somebody at the highest level, he wants them to go talk to the team. Denzel Washington, come talk to our team about being great at your craft, at your field. The Navy SEALs, the Cowboys have gone twice to go look at and visit them and see what it's like to be up close to them. So he tries to kind of instill these messages to his team. He's got all across the locker room. There's all kinds of messages that the players are reading. Sometimes it could be a little bit too much, but I think that, for the most part, he's just trying to put it in these guys' minds of that, be great at all times. Doesn't matter if you're a football player or not. So
right.
Those are some of the things that you see out of him. And his messages to the team, his speeches are very good. They're epic almost.
Absolutely.
He's really, really good at that. But, what all fans care about is, can we just win football games? And right now he's been average. He's been mediocre.
There's no doubt about that.
Get turned around.
And, Nick, we're running out of time. We're running a little short on time. We're going to have you back to talk more about this book. By the way, folks, there's a lot of amazing information in this book. This is Nick Eatman, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Texas. Catch it wherever great books are sold. Highly recommend it. He covers Plano, Baylor, and the Cowboys. What an amazing way to write a book. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you again to discuss more.
Thank you so much for having me. 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 Thank you so much for having me.